In this video, we're going to focus on the score. So when you play the game, when you move your player into the correct answer, we want to add to the score. When you move your player into the incorrect answer, we want to subtract from the score. And we're going to put a new text on the screen space overlay to show our score. So go to your canvas, the screen space canvas. You can see that you have your question text. Click on the canvas, and we're going to create a new UI text. Let's go ahead and rename this text score, and we're going to say score colon space 00, just so we can see how the score is spaced with the numbers. Now you can see it's very small in the game view, so we're going to make it a little bit larger and move it into the left-hand corner of our screen. Let's go ahead and make the font size 70 for now. Now you see when we make it 70, it disappears. That's because it goes outside of the width and height within the rect transform. So we're just going to set horizontal overflow to overflow and vertical overflow to overflow. Let's go ahead and move this in the left-hand corner of our screen. Go to the anchors. We're going to hold shift to set the pivot point to the left. If we go into scene view, look at the canvas. For score, the pivot point is set to the left. Hold in Alt, and we're also going to set the position in the left-hand corner. Now you can see the outline of the screen space canvas, and it's definitely going to cut off part of our score. Going back into the game view, we can get a better view of that. Let's go ahead and give it a buffer. Since the pivot's set in the left-hand corner, this position is 0, 0. So we're going to have to go positive in the Y and positive in the X to move the score up and over. Let's try 20 in the X and 50 in the Y. Go back into game view, and now our score is in the bottom left-hand corner. We can give it even more of a buffer, so let's change it to 30 in the X. Let's go ahead and do 70 in the Y. Change the font to our game font, which we have set as Chelsea Market. And if you want to change the color, go ahead by selecting color. I'm just going to leave it the default color it started with. So now we have our score text set up, and we want that score again to adjust based on whether we selected the correct answer or whether we selected the incorrect answer. So let's go into Game Manager and start by writing some code for the score. Now, just as the text for question posed, left option and right option change, we want the score to change. So we're going to need a variable for that text. So go ahead and write public text, and we'll say score value. We also are going to need another variable. Now this variable is going to be for the numeric value of the score. We have the variable for the text so that the text will change. Now we need the variable for the score so that we can have the value go up and down. So let's go ahead and make a private integer, and we're just going to name that score. At the very start of the game, so go ahead and go into your start function, we want the score to be set to 0. So our score integer variable is going to be assigned to the value 0. And we also want that to be displayed on the screen. So our score value text is going to say score, leave a space, and the score value, which is our variable score. Let's go ahead and comment. Displays the score, and this line of code. And this score equals 0 sets the initial score to 0 at the start of each game. Go ahead and save this. Go back into Unity, and you're going to see that when you go to our game object, since that's where our game manager script is attached, we're now going to have a new option for that public text score value. So go ahead and click the score from your screen space canvas and drag it into the score value. So now when we run the game, our score is set to 0 at the very start. Now, we just got to get it to change. In order to get the score to change, we need to know two things. One, is the left side or the right side the correct value? And two, did the player select that correct value or did they select the incorrect value? So let's start with the first. We need to have a way of knowing which side is correct. Let's go back into the game manager. If you remember, we figured that out through our while loop when it's checking to make sure we have viable options. If the left number is less than the question number, then the left answer was correct and the right was incorrect. Else, if the right number was less than that question number, then the right answer is correct. So we just need to add code and assign a value to distinguish between left and right. Now, if you didn't know, I was a math major in college, so it's easier for me to think in terms of numbers. So I'm going to make a new private integer. So go up into variables, and this private integer is going to be called correct value. Now, if the left is correct, I want that correct value to be assigned to -1. So I'm going to go into my code where it says if the left number is correct, then the correct value is going to be assigned to -1. Now, since we added a line of code, we're going to need brackets within this if statement. So start a bracket at the beginning of the if statement and at the end. Now within the else if, again, we're going to add brackets since we're going to add another line of code, and we're going to say else if the right number is correct, correct value is going to equal a +1. You could also use a boolean if you would like. Since correct value is only ever going to be one of two things. It's only going to be -1 or a +1. -1 for the left, positive for the right. You could have used a boolean and said false for the left and true for the right, or true for the left and false for the right. But it's just easier for me to think left is negative and right is positive. So left correct is -1 and right being correct is a +1. Now I have a value to distinguish whether the left is correct or whether the right is correct. We're going to have to utilize that value to help us figure out exactly which one the player chose. And where exactly does that take place? If you remember, that takes place within our player script. And I'll probably stop the video here. So in this video, we set up our score text in the screen space canvas. We initialized the score, and we assigned a value for when the left answer is correct and the right answer is correct. Now in the next video, we're going to utilize those correct values to decide whether the player came into contact or collided with the correct answer or whether the player collided with the wrong answer, and we're going to add to our score respectively. So go ahead and save your script and save your scene in Unity as well. Remember to like my video, subscribe to my channel, and continue on to the next video to understand exactly what we're going to use that correct value variable for.